Good afternoon or good evening. I want to welcome you to the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. And first of all, I want to make sure that you can hear me okay. So there you have a control panel on the side where you can actually um, let me know. Let me do a quick swap here of the screens. So you can let me know if you can hear me okay. We've got a little bit of background noise there in the back, but hopefully that will go away. If you can raise your hand or you can type in the chat box that you can hear me loud and clear, then I'll know that oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I see a hand wave out there. Well, great. We've got a good group of folks on the call. We're going to get started. Again, I want to welcome you, and we want you to ask any questions that you might have during the webinar this evening. This is a VA homebuyers webinar, and I really appreciate the folks at Navy Federal Credit Union. We have two people that are on the call with us, and we have myself. I'm the real estate broker with Mayfield Real Estate here in Farmington, Missouri. James Odell's with us from Navy Federal Credit Union, as well as Terry Dixon. And I did a VA webinar probably about 8 or 10 years ago when we had an office in Park Hills, Missouri. And I never will forget, we had 7 different couples that showed up that night to our VA webinar. This was a live seminar that we did back then. And all 7 people qualified, all 7 veterans purchased a home. And it was just a great experience. I have not done a VA webinar for quite some time or even a live session. And this last, about 2 weeks ago, I closed a loan with Terry Dixon with a good friend of mine. And Terry did just an outstanding job handling this VA loan. And in fact, Terry, and I didn't tell you this, but I closed 2 VA loans that particular night, or that particular week, pardon me. And both VA loan officers did a great job. They were with different VA institutions, but I've got to tell you, Terry got his done about a week sooner than the other loan officer. They did not have any junk fees on their loan. Their closing costs were, I mean, very, very reasonable, and their interest rate was excellent. So I immediately just felt drawn to ask Terry about if he would be interested in doing a VA webinar with me. He graciously said yes, and James got on board as well. But I want to tell you, working with loan officers on a regular basis, and I've been doing this since 1978 at the age of 18, these guys are very trustworthy. They did a great job for my client, and I would highly recommend them. So I do want to mention to you tonight, we want you to sit back, relax, watch, and listen to what we have to say. We are not here to try to sell you or be high pressured. We're not going to follow up with 9 million emails. You may get a follow-up email about the webinar, but we just want you to learn some information about the VA home loan process because it really is a great opportunity. In fact, I always tell this story because I have taught pre and post license real estate for years, but probably 15, 20 years ago in my career, I kind of went through a really slump of not selling like I once was. And one day I just kind of woke up and said, John Mayfield, you've gotten a little bit too big for your britches. You're not helping people like you used to help people as a real estate professional. And I really had a heart-to-heart talk with myself, and I got a phone call from a gentleman who wanted to purchase a home. He was unemployed, he was on disability, and they did not have much of a budget for a house payment. And I all of a sudden I remembered and I asked him, I said, "Are you a veteran?" And he said, "Yes." And I put him in touch with a loan officer I used at that time. Lo and behold, they qualified for a loan. We found a home in Bismarck, Missouri. The seller paid all of their closing costs. They got a check back on the day of closing, and I never will forget this because this gentleman was in his 50s, he and his wife, and at the closing table, literally they had tears in their eyes because they said this was the first home we've ever purchased. He didn't know that he could use his VA eligibility that way, or that a seller could pay their closing costs. So we really want you to just be able to sit back and learn tonight about VA, to ask questions, and this to be your evening. So we're not here to try to sell you. We would love to help you. I would love to help you buy a home, and I know Terry and James would love to help you with your home loan process. So when you get ready to do that, we want you to keep us in mind. And just a couple of real quick things that I want to mention about the home buying process, because whether you use Mayfield Real Estate or myself or any other real estate agent out there, you need to understand that real estate agents can either work for the seller or the buyer. And so when you get ready to purchase a home, I just want you to make certain that you find an agent that will represent you and help you and guide you through that process. So if you're looking at homes online, or you see a for sale sign in front of another real estate company, sign is out front, you can still call and work through one particular real estate agent. Hopefully that would be me if you're in Southeast Missouri, but if not, that's okay as well. Just make sure you get a real estate agent that will represent you and be a buyer's agent and guide you through the process. We'll talk more about that as we get into the program, but for now, we have a little animation with James's picture there. So it's not that he's any more special than Terry. It's just that's the way our PowerPoint's kind of built there. But I'm going to turn this over to Terry. And Terry, you're going to lead us through the VA process. So thank you again, and I'll turn it over to you, Terry.
Appreciate it, John. Thank you very much. First of all, I just want to say, John, that's probably the highest honor that I could ever receive as a referral or a compliment such as that. I really appreciate it. And just so everyone does know, that's the first time I've heard that. So thank you, John. I really appreciate that. That was pretty awesome. And it is humbling to do this every day and work with James and our team and our staff, and be able to help our veterans and our men and women who so proudly serve and keep and uphold our freedoms and everything. And it's a privilege each day to be able to thank them for that as well. And I also wanted to thank Mr. James for sitting in with us today, and also helping put all this together with you, John. What I'm going to do tonight, I just wanted to first of all just say hello and thank everybody for joining us as well. And I wanted to touch on two quick things, and I'll let everybody know just how the presentation is going to go real quick. Where I'm at remotely, I don't have access to the slides, so when I'm done with the particular slide, I'm going to ask John if he'll help me with that, if he doesn't mind. And here, as you can see, what we're going to talk about today is just a little bit. We're going to go into our field membership and how to become a member and what that entails, and a little bit about Navy Federal, and also our VA loan products, as John had mentioned earlier. Slide, please. Here we just want to also just state that on our, what it is that we at Navy Federal, when we come into work every day and what we do and what we believe, and it is true. Every single day when we come in, we really focus on making sure that our real estate agents and all the hard work and all the things that they have to do every day, and the excitement, the stress, and everything that comes along with the new home purchase, and we really take the big picture and understand what that means and what that's going to entail. And so we really put everything into making sure that we work together with those agents every day and our members, so that we can take care of them in every possible way, max out their benefits, and really honestly make sure that they get their home and their dream home and the keys to their property, and also making it as smooth as possible for our agents, because like I said, we do understand, John, what you guys have to do every day and what it takes from step one to the last step to get everything done. And we're here, like John said in the beginning, we're not here to sell you or pitch you. We're here to help and educate and just basically make sure that you're taken care of, and that you're able to accomplish our goal, which is to purchase that new home. And it comes effortless to provide that type of customer service with what we do every day. So slide, please. and this is something that is amazing, and it's something we're very, very proud of as well. We are the largest credit union in the United States. We have over 5 million members, and we focus on those includes all of our Department of Defense, active, retired military, the Reserve, the Guard, our citizens, on-base contractors and personnel, and also their families. And it's very, very simple to become a member, and we're going to go over what that looks like on our home page and how user-friendly it is to use. And it's the process of becoming a membership is what we're going to focus on as well. And not a lot of people that I've spoken to since I've become an employee at Navy Federal, we had that misconception, and even me at one point before I became an employee, I just thought Navy Federal meant Navy, and that's you had to be in the Navy to become a member, and we're going to go over that in a few other slides and talk about that as well, just to show everyone how to become eligible for membership, and then what that means and the benefits that you get along with it. Slide. And as you can see, we have this awesome, beautiful tree here, and you can see how the branches of the tree go out, just like a family tree is the concept here, and just to extend our appreciation up to our veterans, as everyone can see here, that the entire family, everything we can, and to become a member, and you can see all the different ways. And again, if you are in a situation or you have a question, if you get into where you're trying to become a member, please pick up the phone and call me directly should you have any questions or you're not for sure on certain things and on the eligibility of a member. Slide, please. And then here we're going to discuss a little bit about our VA. Our VA loan is 100% financing, and what we have at Navy Federal, and this is another just comfort zone and another thing that I do love about my job. Navy Federal doesn't sell their mortgages or their mortgage portfolios to any other lender, bank, investor, or any other entity in there. We're going to hold the mortgage for the life of the loan, which means that at any point in time, you can pick up the phone and call me directly over the entire life of the loan. Should you have any questions, you need anything, 100% financing. There's no money down. There's no private mortgage insurance with this particular program as well, and no down payment is required, as we just talked about. The seller contributions, which is the 4% of your sales price that a seller can offer you to cover and help with closing costs. The VA county loan limits not to exceed the 25% limit or over the amount of the loan required to the down payment. And then unlimited gift funds are allowed. So if we do have a young military person or young veteran who's been able to get approved and get everything taken care of through VA, then what that means is if they're just getting out of the service or they're in the service and they're in their early, like I just had one close right before John and I's loan, and the gentleman had just turned 23. So his life is just now getting started pretty much, and so it was very comforting to him and his new wife and new baby to know that if mom and dad or any family member or relative needed to help them out, there was no limitations on their funds allowed, whereas in other programs there are caps and limits on that. Primary occupancy of the home, and then VA can also can finance the funding fee into the loan. So the veterans have an option for that as well, to where they do not have to add that to their closing costs. They can actually roll it into their loan amount, which is another plus, especially when we have, like I said, these couples who are just starting and to be starting families, and they don't have their assets and things as much as they would like at that point in time when they're trying to purchase a home. And then we also allow condos and manufactured homes with the VA program as well. Slide.
And Terry, I just want to kind of jump in and ask a question here to put this in perspective for some of our listeners that are watching tonight. In my area, the average sales price is around $100,000, maybe a little more, depending on what part of the county or what city. Some cities, the average sales price is a little less, but On $100,000 home, let's say if there's a buyer watching and they say, we found a home, it's $100,000. I don't have any money to put down on this home. I'm a veteran. I make good money. My wife and I'm working a good job. I make good money. How does that, the seller, as you note here, can pay up to 4% of the closing cost, but how can that be structured, or could you give just some basic, and I know not we don't want to fix you into specific numbers, but ballparking, would that buyer be able to get in $100,000 or $150,000 home? And if so, if the seller paid up to 4%, how much approximately would a buyer need to come up with for? I know that's always kind of the
You,
question. It's like, you know, how much are closing costs, or
mhm.
how much would I have to come up with as a buyer? Or could this be structured in such a way that the buyer really doesn't have to come up with any down payment?
Well, yeah, I mean and you're right that that's going to be a question, and it should be. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, most expensive decision you'll make, financially, in most, if not all, of our lives. So again, John, I don't mean to delay for a second though, but for whatever reason, I do not have the slide up in front of me again. I don't know. Can you still see me in the the meeting?
I
Okay, I got it back now. I'm sorry.
Do you have
I
it
don't
back
know what
now? Okay,
happened there. I
good. All right.
apologize.
That's no
I
problem.
apologize, everyone. But
But I was
just
do
I
closing
got your
costs.
question.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the on $100,000 loan amount, up to seller concessions of 4%. That's $4,000 that they're going to apply, and like you said, it is an amazing thing when you get to the closing table and that individual and that new homeowner and their family or they're now receiving not only their keys, but they're receiving cash back. Does that happen all the time? No, it doesn't. But it does happen on VA loans, and it does happen a good bit at times when this occurs. And it's because mainly, if you look at the slide that's on the screen, the fourth bullet point down, and just to kind of clarify, because when I went over that, it was pretty quick because I was going through my next thought. But the 25%, so this means that the veteran's going to get 100% of the loan amount. So they're going to get a sales price of 100,000. They're going to get a loan amount of 100,000 with the funding fee and other things. The VA will allow them, their loan amount will be actually 100% plus. So it's going to be 1.7. It's going to be a larger. They can actually go over their actual loan amount over the 100% to help them out as well with the funding fee, so they don't have to come out of pocket on that. When they apply the 4%, on average, you should expect, I would say, if on a $100,000 mortgage, it would be somewhere around the average would be, I would think, or probably around either 2 to 3% of that
Okay.
sales price. So
Sure.
usually what I usually tell a homeowner when I'm on the phone and that individual will ask me that question, that's exactly what I will explain to them. That look, on average, you should be around about 2 to 3%. Now, when everything gets put together, and we don't have all the pieces to the puzzle, those things are going to be inflated because we'll approve it at worst case scenario and things like that until everything gets put into place. And that's where that 4% comes into play for seller concessions, because if you're expecting on average 2 to 3% of closing costs out of your own pocket after everything is said and done, that's why that 4% is important, and why we always recommend to our members to please, when they're discussing their contract negotiations with their realtor, it never hurts to ask. And if you get the full 4%, that's going to also cover our closing costs. And if you go to the next slide, please, we're going to go over one thing that also we'll do at Navy Federal to help out with that situation, just in case you don't get the full 4%. Slide, please.
Okay. And that's a great point, because and I appreciate you kind of clearing that up, because that's the beauty about a VA loan, is the fact that the lender, or the VA, is going to guarantee that 25%, which puts the bank in a very good position, and can be a
Right.
real advantage.
And,
So
and John, what that's going to mean to our members, because I know when you and I are talking, we do this every day for a living, and our new potential homeowners and home buyers, to kind of clarify what that means for them in terms of allowing them to go over that and that extra 4% and things like that. I'm sorry, hold on, my screen did it again. All right.
That's okay. And yeah, and so what? And
Sorry.
well, and one thing I'll just mention to our listeners as we talk about, well, the seller paying 4%, and normally this is just a suggestion. And again, this is why you want to hire a buyer's agent. But from my perspective as a real estate professional, it's a much easier situation when I can go to the seller and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the buyer needs to get a VA loan. They are pre-approved for a VA loan. They are willing to offer you the full price or very close to the full price if you would be so kind to pay their 4% of their closing cost. And usually that will work out. And I'm sure you've seen that as well, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
There are times, and Terry and I did one of the loans we recently did. The gentleman said, I would rather pay my own closing cost and make a lower offer to the seller. So that's all negotiating, and that's a whole different seminar. But the point of the matter is you have an opportunity as a veteran to be able to get into a home with literally little or no money down, and that's just a great beauty. So I'll be quiet and let you keep going, Terry. So.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I just wanted, because I don't want to, because when we're going over our in our terminology, I just didn't want to make sure, and I appreciate you rehashing the point. I just didn't want to lose anyone. And again, here with Navy Federal, and one of our promotions is we offer up to and towards your closing costs for closing a home and buying a home, and through our program, we're going to offer you up to $1,500 towards your closing costs. And again, that's how an individual could possibly end up with funds at closing. And again, like you said, when I'm talking to someone, I kind of always just kind of try to paint the picture for them and let them know, like, on average, that's just how I say it. This is what we should be expecting. That doesn't mean it's going to be at your actual closing cost. It doesn't mean that we're always going to get cash back at closings and things. What I can tell you and sit here and make a promise right here on the spot is I will max out and make sure that you get every single benefit humanly possible in this program to keep all, if not most, if not all of your money in your pocket, and make sure you're taken care of that way. And you can see here that the VA helps us with that, as well as Navy Federal supports that as well, with up to $1,500. We match up to our competitors' rates. We have a guarantee on our rates. We have what we call our freedom lock and things like that we have a promotion as well on that currently, where if the rate improves prior to closing, the rate will automatically be lowered. And if their competitor comes in with someone that has a better offer, Navy Federal, we not only take care of our members in this aspect, but we also know who our competitors are, and we also we know that we can compete and not beat them every time. We're not worried about that. That's why it's here on the slide, because we don't have, like you said, John, we don't have any junk fees or any application fees or anything like that. We have all cards are on the table, so to speak, and it's the best way to handle the business and actually to process the loan, because it makes everything easy. And to rehash, John, real quick, just so everyone knows and understands how the loan structure is put together, and we're going to move on to the next slide. The 25% on the previous slide, the reason why, and like you said, John, the banks know that, and it's a lot easier for them to do the loan because they have that government guarantee, which also, because of that, will then go into where we're going to go to now, which is our rates, and why these VA loans and these VA rates are getting 3.375% for qualified VA members and borrowers for that loan application. That it's not uncommon for me to see the loans and the rates in the mid to low threes. If anything, high low fours. The rates of VA right now are just absolutely they're just amazing. I mean, you've been doing this for a while. Myself and James have been doing this for a while as well. And we talked about this before. We don't see this, and it's never been around. And it's amazing that we were able to have this available to take care of our veterans and their homes and their families. We also here, as you can see, this is an example, and I didn't mean to ramble there. I apologize to everyone for going back to a slide there or two. If you go to our main page, which is at NavyFederal.org, and if you go to our main page, this is where you're going to come up, and at the very top of the main page at NavyFederal.org, you're going to see 4 blue.
And actually, I have your website. I'm going to just put it on the screen here. So here's the home page. Right, and so we want to go down.
No, what I was going to do is I was going to point to a few things real quick. At the very top of the page, you'll see the 4 blue tabs where it says Account Access, Products and Services, Membership, and Benefits. And here is where we're going to talk about where and how to become eligible for a member. If you look, John, and everyone on the left-hand side, the second blue sentence down is eligibility for a membership. Am I eligible? And it's very simple and very quick, and it asks just a few quick questions, and then it on the right-hand side, am I eligible to become a member? And you just go through and answer yes or no. And there's literally, there's just a handful of questions. I was going to give a number, but I haven't actually ever counted them now that I thought about it. And you can just simply answer yes or no to the questions. Are you a reservist, or are you a family member? And it goes through all those questions, and they'll let you know real quick if you become a member. And again, just to remind everybody, if you do have an issue with that, please pick up the phone and give me a call at any time if you have a question about becoming a member. And then back to the home screen where John has the slide now. If you go to Products and Services, on the left-hand side, you're going to see loans, and underneath it, you're going to see mortgages. If you click mortgages, the screen's going to pop up, as you can see here, and underneath mortgages, compare all mortgage loans, you're going to see our tabs here. And again, it's literally user-friendly like you wouldn't believe, and it's almost like color by numbers. And again, if you have any questions, it's going to be just like what we're doing here. I'll be on the phone with you, and I can walk you through each slide and each question and each link just to make sure you're going in the right direction. Here you're going to see with the VA, it's going to give you a little breakdown, a couple extra links that you can click on. It talks about 100% financing, the rate terms. Another question, John, since we are here, and this is where you can find out information like that. Very, very common to have certain questions on every single loan application, every single new homeowner who's buying a home. And again, that's why we're here to help and to make sure you're taken care of, and also to educate you so that you get the information you need to make the right decision. And so when you hear the other most common question is going to be, well, what I want to do is I want to roll that in and take the cash back, or they're going to give me this, and I'm going to take that out because I need to remodel. On each mortgage transaction is an individual transaction, and on a purchase, even though at closing you may have an opportunity to get some back, depending on the contract and the loan program that you're in, it's on a purchase you're not allowed to actually take out additional cash. And the reason is you don't own that property. You don't have any vested interest in the equity. So therefore, you would have to do something like that on a refinance and on another loan program. And this is the screens in the area that you would go to see and verify and look into those types of mortgage questions. And again, always you can pick up the phone and give us a call, and we can go over them with you. John, I'm going to have to apologize to everybody again. I'm so sorry. My computer is acting up, and I am logging back in again. But
that's not a problem. And just a quick question for some folks, too, because I mentioned this to Terry and James when we were preparing right before the webinar. It's kind of like if you've ever bought that red Toyota Camry, and then all of a sudden you never paid attention to red Toyota Camrys until you purchased one, and then you see red Toyota Camrys all the time. And I really had not been that familiar with Navy Federal until my client said, hey, this is who I'm going through. And the transaction went so smooth. And I mentioned to Terry, I said, I'm seeing Navy Federal credit unions. I travel a lot, do a lot of teaching and speaking, but I've seen a lot of Navy Federal credit unions as I've traveled and have been speaking around the country. But it doesn't matter where you're located, because I'm sure you can use a shared facility. If there's a credit union, for example, we have a Ledco credit union in our area, and I'm sure that there are many credit unions that may be what they call a shared branch. So or a lot of banks are going with online deposits and online bill pay and so forth. But
Yeah,
I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint
I'm back.
slideshow for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem. No problem.
And
Yeah,
we'll,
we have all the access. I mean, if you don't have a branch, we like I said, we don't have a branch in every single county, in every single city, and things like that. But the beautiful thing is we would not have 5 million members if they couldn't access and be available. You know, if we were not available to them. So you know, it just wouldn't fly. So again, back to the slides. We're here. I'm going to go over that. No, you were on the correct slide with the real estate
okay.
information. I'm gonna go over this because, like I said, it's also useful tools for agents to be aware of it. Also to be just in case you and your realtor are going over things, you'll have the access that you can see where they're at on that home page as well. Here, if you go to the link on the page where it shows the mortgages, and on the bottom right-hand side of the screen before this one is realtor resources, and that's how John got to this slide here. And here, you're going to see at the very bottom of the slide where the red arrows, I just want to direct your attention to where the red arrows are on the left-hand side of your screen. And I absolutely love this as well because the realtors can use it, the agents can, the members, the new homeowners can check it out and look at it as well. And this is, again, just another aspect of that, you know, knowledge is key with what you're doing and when you're going into the home buying. And the more information and the more knowledge you have, the easier the transaction will flow for your real estate agent and your loan officer as well. Here, the first thing you'll see is the home center buying sample. You'll see find the best mortgage that fits your family's needs, you or your family's needs, and then mortgage calculators to figure out, like, okay, well, I want to know roughly what my payment's going to be if I want to buy a home. I found one that's about 200, 300,000, or 150, or 50,000, or 10,000, whatever the loan size is. You can plug it in here and look, and it'll process a mortgage calculator with you and go over, you know, that way you can play around with it and have some examples. And if your agent needs to give you some information, it's there available. And again, all of this is very user friendly. And then you can see here, I'm sorry.
That was my fault. I apologize.
See again, no, you're fine. And again, you can see here it has another link just in case if someone's at your office, John, or you're sitting there on site and with your touchscreen or your laptop or whatnot. You can always access here at the bottom, see who's eligible for Navy federal membership. And again, you can always call the BAT line and give me a call, and we can go through those options and see if we're qualified as well and make sure the eligibility and requirements. And again, once they're members, they're going to be extremely taken care of. And, you know, no other lending institution in my years of experience here, literally December the 5th was my anniversary, and I hit 12 years. I've never seen anything like what Navy Federal can do with their loan programs. And again, that's the main benefit to our members is the fact that we're going to house these mortgages, and we're not going to sell them into any other mortgage investors or lenders or portfolios. So your mortgage will never be sold. Your loan officer won't change. You can always pick up the phone and give us a call, and we'll be able to take care of anything that you need at that time for any of your mortgage questions or concerns. And then with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to our next slide, our final slide.
Yeah, and that's a big deal too, because a lot of buyers get frustrated with that because banks will sell their mortgage, it gets sold to someone else, their coupon doesn't arrive in time, and I've just seen so many different horror stories in that respect. And I didn't realize you did that, but I think that's a great deal. I have a question here, and we want to open this up if folks want to type in questions, or if you want to raise your hand, we can unmute you and you can ask a question. But Terry, walk us through what's the first step that you need, or how long does it take you to pre-qualify someone? What are some pieces of information you need? Walk us through that process of someone's on the line, they want to get pre-qualified to be a VA, to get a VA loan. What do you need, and how long does it take for you to?
John, that's a phenomenal question. The first thing is what we're going to do is we're going to, obviously this individual is a member of our credit union. They're coming to us for a mortgage loan and they want to go to a VA option. Once we complete just a few quick questions, it's going to take me probably about I would need probably anywhere from 5, maybe not even 2 to 3 minutes of their time to run through some basic quick questions with them, just to kind of confirm what I see on their application, because obviously their application's been submitted. And then what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to take and pull their certificate of eligibility through the VA, or request a DD-214, which is their statement of retirement and everything. And then I'm going to, once I have that, we're going to pull the certificate of eligibility and their CAVers to make sure we have a clear certificate of eligibility and CAVers. And then at that point, we're going to run their file through the VA underwriting system, and then we're going to have an approval. And that whole process more than likely would take probably about, I would say, about 10 minutes once I've got the first few questions answered. Usually before I'm off the phone with them, I can run it through the system, and if once they have an approval, what I'll do at that point in time is I'll give them the news and let them know what I'm going to do, which is I'm going to cross my T's and dot my I's, make sure I've got everything, and just in case if there's anything that I need a second set of eyes, I'm going to double check everything, and then within a very short period of time, we're going to send them through a very secured lending through our program and our security programs that we have. We're going to send them their approval letter for their real estate agent and for them for the requested loan amount. And if there's any issues or any concerns or anything like that, or any reason why we don't get an approval, then while we're on the phone with them, or if we have to call them back, depending on what they have going on at that period in time, because we also know that, like I said, this is exciting. It's going to be a little stressful because you got your day-to-day, everyday life and the things that you have to do of a day. So we work for you, and that's what we ask you, just to put us to work. So if you need something, we'll take care of it. And then what we'll do is once we have your loan, everything put through the system, we'll get you your approval letter. And again, like I said, if we need to discuss options for other means for the approval, that's the other benefit of being a member of Navy Federal. We don't just serve as VA loans. We have a multiple variety of programs out there that just to make sure we have plan for if VA, then plan A, plan B, plan C. We have all types of facets of programs to help our members achieve the accomplishment of owning their new home.
And what Terry is talking about, too, is a big deal for your real estate agent that you hire to work for you, because having that pre-approval really is in a lot of ways like you're a cash buyer, because they've done all of that preliminary work, and you know that really the only thing between you and purchasing that home is negotiating the offer that you would be happy with paying for that home, getting the appraisal and the title work, which is title insurance and title work, just make sure that there are no liens on the property, that the seller has the right to sell the property, and that when you purchase it, you don't have to worry about someone knocking on your door saying, hey, what are you doing in this home? Or I have a right to this home. But really, there's just a short window after that. And the appraisal, of course, is there to protect you, so that if the home does not appraise out for what you are paying for it, you have the option to either not purchase the home, or the seller can reduce the price to what it appraised for. But that kind of brings up the next question. Are there any fees that the buyer's going to need to pay Navy Federal up front? Like, do you require $400 for a credit and appraisal, or $450, or once you get them approved, are there any other upfront costs that we need to look at for buyers?
Yeah. And again, John, just another out-the-park question. But before I answer that question, John, you made mention that the pre-approval is important also, for your particular agent that's representing you, the buyer, but it also it goes hand in hand. The seller's confidence and comfort zone is
exactly
satisfied and complete. You know what I mean? So we have a
great
win-win
point
all around. You know that your agent's going to take care of it, and the negotiating power, like you said, is now all in control and where it needs to be on the buyer's side, who's actually giving them the money. So you should have a right when you're purchasing and giving someone that kind of money on the home. We want you to have all your benefits, and what I mean when I said that earlier is this is one of them. You having the negotiating power to get the home and everything that you deserve. To answer your other question, there are fees associated with every loan that you're going to inquire. The first fee that you're going to inquire is when you when you do your mortgage application, it is an $11 fee for the credit application. And if you're going to have one person on the loan, it's going to be $11. If you're going to have two, it's $22. That is the only fee that Navy Federal is going to collect off your mortgage application up front. The appraisal fee is going to be sent through the appraisal ordering system through VA, and that fee is going to be the VA required fee for that appraisal. And those fees range usually from about $380 to $500 or so. It just really honestly depends on the area and the county and everything and what goes on with the appraiser to purchase that property. What will happen is once we put in that zip code and everything's in your application, you have a completed application, it is going to disclose to you when we send you your pre-approval letter. We're going to send you that pre-approval letter, and like I said, in worst case scenario, John, just to also just make sure everyone understands, I'm not trying to paint a rosy picture here. Within the next 24 hours, you're going to have the information that you need, yes or no, and where we're moving and what game plan if need be, if any. And then once we have that situation, we've got the credit report and fee taken care of. You're going to get, when you get your pre-approval, you're going to get an estimated closing cost worksheet, a good faith estimate that is going to be disclosed up front, like I mentioned before, all cards on the table. It's going to be worst case scenario. It's going to be overestimated. It's sometimes going to be 2 or 3 times what the fees will actually end up being. But what that tells VA and the underwriters is we've got everything pre-approved with this, closing cost, which we know is overestimated. So the numbers can always go down. They're just not going to increase. And that makes everyone's job easier because they'll say, okay, well, I know if they're approved with this much and closing costs and fees and assets and reserves and things, then obviously if that number is reduced, it's a no-brainer. It's obviously going to still be approval, so there's no delay. And that's one reason why, John, because you know the industry and you've been doing this for a while, that was one reason why we're able to get our loan, sometimes very close, before closing and get them accomplished quicker.
Exactly. And there's 2 things that I really want our audience to know, and I feel this way with James and Terry both with Navy Federal, just in working, because Terry was good to get back in touch with me. Terry called me before the closing and said, I'm going over the HUD-1, which is the closing statement, line by line with the buyer, my client, before we ever went to the closing table. The 2 VA loans I did, the lady at the title company told me Navy Federal was a breeze to work with. She had her numbers 3 days before the closing. I just want people to know that things just went so smoothly. Terry was so thorough. He does not, and I had a loan recently, and I'm still trying to get this loan closed for some buyers, where they went to a loan officer who promised them the moon only to drag us out for 2 months and drop us off at the end of the world. And I had to pick these buyers up and put them with another loan officer. And we're almost getting to the closing table. But that's the thing I appreciate about Terry. He's not, if he can't make the loan work, he's going to be upfront and honest with us. But he's also going to keep us posted throughout the process. And that's why I really wanted to do this webinar with Navy Federal. I did 2 VA loans. I saw the closing cost on both papers. I saw the interest rates. I watched how the process worked, and I was so blown away by their service, by their just the way the transaction handled that. It was I really appreciated that. And so, kind of.
Again, John, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just want to confirm with everybody again, this is the first time that I'm hearing these things. So just to let everybody know again, John, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Not that he didn't think, and I don't want anyone to think that he just, John did thank me afterwards and told me, but didn't go into this detail. And again, I appreciate it, and it really is working with James and our staff and our manager Annette and our supervisor Miss Teddy and all of them in working for Navy Federal. It literally is, it's effortless, and it doesn't just happen between 8:30 in the morning and 5. I mean, we're 24 24/7, 7 days nonstop. We're just there because we know what it means, and we know that if with being a member of Navy Federal and us being part of that program too, when it represents me as an individual, and it reflects the it's a win-win. And that's why I mentioned earlier in my slide, and my point of this was, we know who our competitors are, and we're not afraid to compare apples to apples. And as you can see, John, I mean, you put them side by side, and it's a no-brainer. And again, it's effortless
is.
and it's a no-brainer to do what we do when you're here with our company and when you're part of our membership. It's every day. I mean, I'm wowed sometimes just from by my coworkers and some of the things that we're able to do to help our veterans and our membership and our members.
Well,
Excuse me.
and I just wanted people to really get a sense of security and feeling that they're in good hands, and it's a big deal for people when they purchase a home. And we're recording this. You may not be watching the live version. There are people watching the live version, but if you have the opportunity and qualify for a VA loan, this is you're not going to see interest rates this low. I mean, I've been practicing real estate for 36 years, and this is the first time I've seen interest rates this low. And when you close a loan and somebody is buying a home and they tell you at the closing table, this is less than what I was paying rent for. That's a great feeling, and knowing that now they're into a property that they can enhance, that hopefully will appreciate. We can't ever guarantee something will appreciate, but they're investing in something that's theirs and that they can be proud of. And so I appreciate the fact that Terry took so much care, and the one loan that I've done with him, but I was very impressed with that. Now there is a question here, Terry.
Sure, go ahead.
I had a VA loan, but I used my VA once, paid it off. Am I still eligible to get another VA loan?
Yes, and
Okay.
again, that's when we're the VA's guidelines, and that's where that, like I told you before, once we have the member's application, we're starting the process. The very first step in that process, as soon as that member has selected that they want to apply for a VA mortgage, we're going to pull their certificate of eligibility and their CAVers, and that's what I was meaning when we have a clear. It's going to literally state, hey, well, in this date and this year they had a VA loan. This has been, taken care of. They're eligible, and et cetera. So they're going to know, like I said, pretty much almost right away about the certificate of eligibility and their qualifications on applying for it. And then we're going to run it through our system to make sure that we have the pre-approval and, so to speak, like I said earlier, crossing our T's and dotting our I's. And the main thing is just taking it one step at a time and not taking that step or making that decision until our members are thoroughly explain and understand the decisions, and we're moving to the next step once they're good and they understand exactly what we're doing in the loan process. And again, I want to just touch bases and remind everybody, I mean, with the customer satisfaction, the customer service that we offer, to have 5 million members and to still do things where you have compliments and comments such as what Mr. Mayfield has made, and it honestly, it's effortless. Like I said, when we come in, it makes it so much more rewarding and so much more meaningful. And if anything comes up, any other questions, the VA loans and programs. But again, we do have Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, just in case if we need to go other routes with mortgage loans, just make sure that we can accomplish you getting your home and completing the process of receiving your keys.
Sounds great. Well, I have the contact information up for James and Terry, and James is a little under the weather. He's on the line listening. We appreciate him logging in, and we told James just to sit back and listen. But Terry, thank you for your presentation. You may have other questions. You might want to get pre-approved. You can do that by contacting either James or Terry at the number here. I'm not making any money off, giving my testimony to Navy Federal. I'm not making any money. If you call and want to refinance, I guess you can do that as well, or look at their other loan opportunities. But give them a call. They've been very good to work with. And when you're ready to purchase a home, well, I'd love for you to keep me in mind. But there again, we want this to just be, we wanted this to be your night. I'm going to put this on my website. I had several people who wanted to attend that couldn't, but we had several folks that were on the webinar tonight, which is great, and we appreciate that. But whether you use Mayfield Real Estate or not, just make sure that you get an agent that will represent you, that will guide you through the process. And whoever you choose for a home loan, I just want you to, whoops, I wanted to go back to, hit the wrong button, but I wanted to go back and put up Terry and James's contact information. Make sure you get a loan officer who will shoot straight with you. That's all I look for as a real estate professional. And I really found that in Terry, and I appreciated the work he did. My client was very pleased, and he got the job done, kept me informed. And as a real estate agent, that means a lot because we work with a lot of loan officers, and sometimes you leave a phone message and it's 2 days later, and 2 emails and 3 phone calls, and 2 days later before you hear back from him. It wasn't that way with Terry. He was very, very good to stay on top of everything, and got a really good rate from my buyers. So thank you all for watching the VA webinar. If James or Terry can help you, give them a call. If I can help you at Mayfield Real Estate, give me a call. But again, thank you for watching our VA webinar, and we wish you the best of luck in your next home purchase. Terry and James, thank you so much.
And thank you, John. Thank you, James. Thank everybody for attending.